Hi guys, it's Claire's. Welcome to another Procreate video with me. In this video, we are going to do some really quick and easy, simple leaf doodles. So I have my canvas open already, and I have actually pre-selected some colors. And I have them in here. I'm going to list the palette in the description below, so please feel free to collect it from there. Also, for the previous roses video, for those of you who selected or who kind of wrote in comments and asked for the palette, I have included it in that video as well, so please do check that and use those if that suits you. Okay, so for today's video, I have quite a few colors selected, and I'm going to start off by putting this nice light beige on my canvas background, and I kind of already have it there. So if you go to your background layer and select it, and you select the color that you want, it kind of automatically changes for you. So I've selected this super light beige at the the second color that I have there. And so for the first doodle, I'm going to make sure layer 2 is selected, and we're going to go to brushes and select monoline, which is under calligraphy, because we want a pretty consistent thickness throughout as we kind of go on. And I'm also keeping this fairly simple for you guys. Okay, so the color that we're going to be using for this is going to be the first color, which is the green. And we're going to create a stem that kind of goes this way first, and then we're just going to have little stems extending from it, just like this. And these are like fairly easy to do, also relaxing if you're like on a car or long car ride or a train journey or whatever. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to create little tiny enclosures, because these are going to be almost like buds. And so this is how I'm doing that, by just creating 3 little things and then closing it up by filling it in with color. So 1, 2, 3, and then coloring it in. And again, these are like super easy to do, repetitive, and just the devil is in the details, so to speak. And by details, I mean because you're doing so many of these, you're not kind of painstakingly trying to make it perfect, but because there's so many of them in numbers, it kind of creates a nice detailed look, but in a loose manner. So there's no pressure to kind of have it be perfect. All right, so I'm just gonna finish these few. And I guess once you do these, you can feel free to create them in a wreath or a bouquet or whatever your heart pleases, really. Or if you have a certain project that you're doing, then you need it to be a certain way. Just zooming in a bit more for these ones here. Perfect, and then let's do one more here. Great. Oops. All right, so there we go. So now we have that. Now the next thing I want to do is, so I'll name this stems. Let's just call it stems. Stems 1 for like the first type of leaves that we're doing. And then what I want to do is create another layer, but this layer is going to be, let's name it buds. And I'm going to put this layer below the stem layer. And now that I have it there, I'm going to go ahead and select, let's select this nice little pinky color that we have at the very end. And I'm just going to go ahead inside and create little buds, just like in an egg shape. I'm going to go ahead and create this, and we got a super cute stem of buds that you can kind of duplicate from here if you want. So you can group it, and you've seen me group that in previous videos. And then you can just duplicate it if you, if you need several of them, or you can just do 2 or 3 of them and duplicate those and get a nice variety of different, so it doesn't look like it's been duplicated multiple times, just to kind of give it a slight different look. Does that make sense? All right, perfect. So this is our little bud that we have. Now we're going to go on to the next version or next type that I was thinking of showing you guys, or I am going to show you guys. This one I am going to also select the green and making sure we got a new layer. Let's call it stem 2. And now these are going to be like real leaves that you would typically see. So I'm going to go ahead and make another stem over here and have it kind of coming this way. And so just making sure that we're not on the same layer. Yeah, I'll have the same green. And I'm just going to go ahead and create this stem over here. One swoop, and there we have a stem. And for this, we're going to do similar looking stems like we did over here, or extensions, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to have it go shortest at the top, and then it kind of gets a little bit wider with a couple of more leaves or stems at the bottom as you go at the bottom. And you can always like zoom in if you want to have a nicer, more fuller, detailed direction here. Create a couple here, one more here. Good. And I'll leave that as is. Maybe just create one here so it doesn't look like it's deliberately not there. And then what I also want to do for this is just kind of give it a slightly thicker end, so it looks a bit different and doesn't look as thin as the other one. So I'm giving it a thicker lower half of this. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do leaves, and the leaves are going to be pretty simple, just like this. And you can just select that and drop it in to color the leaves in. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this all over. And then you'll see why these are slightly different from, I guess, any of the other regular leaves that you would do. And I'll show that to you just as soon as I am done creating these leaves all over the place. Actually, I think it's better to just kind of create your leaves and then do the drop of color. In fact, I kind of like the idea of having maybe some filled in leaves, some not filled in. Maybe even try that as another stem, just to give the illustration that we're doing more variety. Just like in any of the watercolor videos I do, like I like to have different sizing of leaves. I like to have different variations of color, some lighter, some darker. I think it really does help enhance the artwork as a whole. All right, so almost done, and then we can move on to the next bit. So there we go. Okay, so now I want to create another layer for on top of this, and I'm going to name this veins. Let's name it veins, or lines, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to name it veins, and I'm going to select this light color that we selected for the background. And once I have that selected, I'm going to go back to my brush, and I am going to make sure that the brush is a lot tinier. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to go and create little leaf veins on the inside. and just adding some detail to our leaves, just like that. So you see how it does that. In fact, you know, it could probably go a little bit thinner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of these in this thickness and then go thinner. Again, trying to get that variety in there, right? Because you can see it looks a little bit too thick for the width of these leaves, but I'm just going to stick with it for now. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to make this a time lapse just so you guys are not sitting and watching this whole thing after you know exactly what we're going to be doing. So let me just make this a time lapse. Okay, so we're all done doing that, and as you can see, they look a little bit too thick. So I would just maybe suggest making the leaves thicker than what I had them, and then this way your thinnest brush is not going to look quite so thick as you draw in the veins. That's an easy fix, my oversight over here. But we're gonna move on and do one more to add to this, so we've got some nice contrast as well to this. And I am going to select I'm going to select this nice dark brown that we have going on here, and we are going to, I'm pausing because I'm wondering if I should use, I'm going to use the beige. Let's use the beige. And we're going to create this, rename it, let's name it Berries. And now we're going to create these tiny little berry type sprigs that are going to be coming outward almost kind of like this. And we're just going to create tiny little elongated kind of almost kind of like the leaves we did, but with a rounder edge. And we're going to give this some nice movement so that it looks like it's kind of just going around, and maybe even add some dots to it, you don't know. And by dots, I mean like tiny little guys like this. In fact, you know what? Let's just do this as is, and we're gonna create the dots with the brown. So let's do that. Create a couple of them, give it some movement. So I've done one here, let's do one here. Just like that, yeah. Let's do a couple here. And again, we're just doing like this nice oval kind of shape for these so-called berries. And I'll do a fourth one like that, and just like this. We're just kind of, again, trying to be loose, but trying to give it some nice detail by kind of having these one go this way, maybe a couple over here, and a couple of them maybe even on this end. Let me, oops, zoom in here. So the whole point of doodling and kind of creating things like this is just A, to get some practice, B, if you have a project that you're doing and you're kind of, if you have an idea of what elements you want to include, it becomes so much easier to kind of just get swept away in the moment and just create your own, whether it's a wreath or even like a little bouquet, as I mentioned earlier, as long as you know what the elements are. And so these are great ideas for elements that you can kind of use throughout your painting, or sorry, your illustration. Making these tiny. There we go. Let's do that. Okay. So we've got 3 here. Oops. 3, 4, 5, 6. Not bad. Okay. Let's just do one more kind of happening this end here. I need to zoom out just to kind of see the lay of the land and then kind of decide where I want to place things. That kind of always helps me, I find. Making these ones kind of come down a little bit. Perfect. Okay, I think this is good. Just for the whole idea of doodling over here. And now we're going to go ahead and use the dark brown and create some of the tiny little berry dots, or whatever you want to call them. So for that, I'm just going to go ahead and using this, I think, you know what, just let's use another layer. Selected the dark brown, and I'm going to go ahead and create these guys in here. And varying sizes. And again, that helps with giving it that nice, light, loose look. Space them out nicely. And just kind of go all around wherever it's needed. So there's that. Let's do some here. I like adding elements like this, not just in watercolor, but also in kind of any of my art projects, because it kind of adds some nice fading off, phasing out detail, and kind of adds some nice movement to your whole drawing or illustration as a whole. Now I would create more of these to enhance it and kind of give it some more flow and whatever, but this is the idea, to have these 3 different kind of elements to kind of just enhance your art. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Just wait till the end to see the full artwork that I have done, and then this way it'll maybe inspire you to kind of create something for yourself that way. All right, thanks guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do hit the like and subscribe button. I just put out the Procreate videos on a every Saturday on a weekly basis. I try to, at least. Last Saturday was a watercolor, but typically I post watercolor videos, and Procreate is just like something on the side that I like to dabble with. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and stay tuned for the finished product, guys.